how is it feeling? How do you take it when people are saying, well, let's just do freestyle, men's and women. Exclude Greco in its entirety. What's your perception on that?
Well, obviously, I'm not for that. I feel
This just in.
That's an easy answer.
Thanks for being honest.
Yeah,
Appreciate
yeah.
it.
That's.
Let me
say it though. This we have to remember something. You're reading the message boards from people in the United States. What they don't realize is that if it possibly came to a vote internationally, freestyle might lose and they might be out. Greco is a very popular sport in Europe. More so, there's probably more tough. Arguably, there's more tough countries wrestling Greco and more countries at wrestling Greco than there are freestyle. Now again, no one wants to see either one of them leave.
Right.
Obviously, I see all of the great history that we've had in Greco, the Corellans, the Roulon Gardners, all of the great matches, and all the many kids that must have been inspired by watching these matches of all the greats. Why would we want to lose that? They're two different styles. Why not be proud about both styles and try to promote both styles in the Olympics?
Absolutely.
Let me try to look at a short term and a long term, because what transpired was something that, let me even back up before London. FILA had applied for the 3 weights for the women, so it would be 7, 7, 7 for the London Olympics. The IOC offered if 2 more women's weight classes, if the men each gave up 1 weight class. So they offered 6, 6, 6 for London.
Right.
The FILA Bureau countered with, the men will stay at 7, the women can go to 6, but the men will give up enough qualifying spots to the women to fill those 2 new positions. So there wouldn't be any new athletes. Wrestling wouldn't grow in the number of athletes, just in the combination. And they said no. So obviously, when you search back over decision points, one would ask, was that a bad decision? Could be, right? Would wrestling not have faced this had they addressed that issue then? I don't know the answer to that. But sort of to this short term on the 666 in the Greco-Roman and the freestyle in the women. If you just take a very practical view, I would go over the IOC list and I would say that there's probably 15 votes that if you didn't have Greco-Roman and or the women, or more gender equity with the women,
Right.
we couldn't look to those votes to support. Just look at the Cadet World Championship last weekend. Sweden and Norway sent no Greco-Roman and no freestyle men, only women. Sweden, Norway, and Austria, I think, 3. Croatia and Finland sent men's Greco-Roman and women's, and no freestyle. Mongolia and Canada send no Greco-Roman, just women and freestyle. So when you look at holding a united group of people together, it needed to be Greco-Roman, men's, freestyle, men's, and women. And the women need more opportunity. There are countries that the women's program in those countries have reached the skill level which they are, relatively speaking, superior to their men's program. Colombia, Japan, and Japan's a strong men's wrestling. Austria, even the Ukraine is very close. So I think it belies the notion that wrestling needs to either drop or have one man stop. Now that may be the evolution,
Right.
and I would not guess, as Steve was alluding to, on whether Greco-Roman and freestyle. I would not want to guess what the rules would be if we had one style, simply because of the long time tradition of the Greco-Roman wrestling. So I think that for me, that's a very difficult decision. I can't be so cavalier with the dreams of Greco-Roman wrestlers or women wrestlers or freestyle wrestlers from around the world. That thought doesn't occur to me.
And can I ask a question to Stan too? Sorry. Why do you think, Stan, that the IOC wouldn't allow 777? Maybe the audience wants to know exactly why we have to shrink it to 666.
I don't think that's the evolution that can be. I think if you look at the letter from Jacques Rogue when he accepted the 666, he says that doesn't mean that can't be debated.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, what he meant by what can be debated is something like, good, I kicked the can down to the next president. So it's not like he's offering that the next president is going to be more accommodating. But I've always been puzzled at the notion that why does it matter how many weight classes we have? It shouldn't matter how many athletes we have. So I'm not saying that vote would be an easy vote, but if someone came to me personally and said, at the IOC, and we were in these negotiations and I had to make the argument, I would rather have 777 with 12 qualifiers, let's say, just as an example, per weight class, than I would 666 with 16 or 20 qualifiers.
I agree.